be without fear is in the now. I'm learning how. Fast life, no thanks, no I'm doing just fine. One foot in another, floating, enjoying my freedom.
So I'm Marianne. Welcome to my webinar. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited. So I started this for you, like Pitof and Matt, you may not know, and Samir as well. I started this exactly when Corona lockdown began. So I thought, you know what, let's use this time to do the thing that I've been meaning to do for a year and I've been too scared to do. Being on a webinar right now in front of a camera and speaking, that is something that is, it's been like petrifying me. So I thought, you know what, this is a time to just do whatever scares me. And so then I can maybe help some people feel motivated and engaged and inspired, since I'm so lucky to have such a great network in my life, from all over the world, and why not share them with people here? And so it's fucking scary. I'm not gonna lie. And but the more I do it, the more I get used to it. And so it's scary, but then fear, it's something that is we all experience, especially nowadays. And then I'll ask some questions to everybody. But is it reason enough not to do the things that you want to do just because you're scared of failing, or just because you're scared of looking bad or being judged? That's not how I live my life. So how did I fuel the fun in this particular webinar series? Well, by inviting my friends. So then I don't feel so alone, and then the attention is not just on me, but it's kind of spread throughout, my with my guests, and then you guys, So then that's how I feel the fun in my fear. So rather than not doing it at all, I've figured out a creative way of getting past my fears. And fear is normal. We all fear it, right? Because we don't know what tomorrow is going to be like. So and even doesn't matter if we are rich. The cool thing about Corona, it's affected everybody across the border, white, black, women, men, rich, poor, it doesn't matter. We're all in the same boat. But we have to figure out a way to feel the excitement, to look at the opportunities that lie behind it and what we can do about it, right? So you guys, I would like for you guys to first introduce yourself and what you're doing right now, and if you've ever failed, and how do you feel, fuel the fun in your fears, and how do you keep going amidst all the changes that are happening? Because the creative is always the first one that's been shut down, So how have you dealt with it in your life, and what have you learned? How did you deal with it then? And looking back, what did you learn? And how do you, do you find a way to create fun out of it or not? All these questions. So who wants to go first, Matt or Pitof? Alessandro, no, Pitof? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'll go first. So yeah, fear. Actually, fear is a feeling I've been changing all over my life, during all my life, and now I'm in a space where truthfully, I respect fear, because fear is something very important. Fear to me gives me like a bearing where I should stand, where I shouldn't stand. So all my life, there's one thing I did, I'm still doing, but not as much as before, was flying. I like flying, and I like to fly.
I flew with you once.
Yeah. And I like to fly aerobatic. And aerobatic is, of course, you have a lot of fear because you can die, but the fear gives you boundaries. I'm not crazy. I don't want to die, and I always try to fly as much as possible in not pushing too much the envelope. You have to push the envelope whatsoever, but not too much. To push the envelope in a reasonable volume, if I could say. And in the other hand, in my career, of course, I had a lot of fears, And especially after the movie I did in Los Angeles, Catwoman, which was like a good and a bad thing at the same time. And then I figured I was really like a deer in the headlights. And that's what fear did to me. So fear like froze, I was frozen. And this type of fear is the worst one, because you know you're fucking frozen, you know the car is gonna hit you and you don't move a hair. So that's the worst that's the worst fear ever. And since then, I've learned to tame that fear and to like that fear and to live with the fear and to embrace it and to, it's like, you know, like a monster. You have to like the monster who's in you, or the monster you have to face. So it's all about your relationship with problems, and you have to care about the problems. You have to love the problems in order to live with it. And to me, that's how I now live with fear. And of course, sometimes, you know, I have a lot of fear. Like, of course, as of now, because, you know, we don't know what the future is going to be. For people like me, like artists, you know, you never know what's going to happen. So the fear is there, but it's the thing is to try to avoid to put you in that position of a deer in a headlight. That's the worst thing that fear can do to you. All the rest, you can live with it.
So have you failed?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But yeah, a lot of failing, and Catwoman was a big failure. I mean, and it took me years and years and years to recover from that. But yeah, of course. And I'm starting, you know, like almost like 15 years after. I just now start to recover and to understand and to process everything that, you know, all the failing that I was responsible for, and the failing I was not responsible for, and I took the blame for it, or people put the blame on me. So it's all, you know, getting sought out, all these scary and fearful elements.
But what was the worst about failing? Was it because your ego? Or, I mean, what was the process? Why did it take you 15 years to get over?
No, it's not ego. It's getting lost. It's getting you've lost confidence, and you've lost yourself. That's where it's the worst thing, because, you know, you don't know you anymore. You can't move a foot forward because you're afraid that, you know, people will look at you, or maybe will dislike it. So you put yourself in the position where you want to be loved, but you're not able to be loved because you don't love yourself. So, you know, it's reverse every energy that will be good for you, because, you know, in order to be loved, you have to love yourself. In order to be successful, you have to trust yourself, and all that. I mean, and the fear and what happened with Catwoman inversed the, I mean, the field, and whatever we can call it. And I was like paralyzed for years.
Yeah. So what was the process? What did you have to do to overcome it finally? Or was it through meeting people, or through some routines that you started doing? I mean, what was, how'd you get over it?
The first thing was meditation. I started TM, Transcendental Meditation, like 6 years ago. And it was really I knew somewhere I had to do it, but, you know, I didn't know how to start. And I spoke with friends, and a friend of mine told me, you should start, you should try TM and stuff. And I did it. And it was a very start of the process. And, you know, doing meditation. And the next thing was psychedelic drugs.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I did a lot of, you know, ayahuasca,
Mm-hmm.
and bufo, which is another bufo is the venom of a toad you smoke, and it's a 5-MeO DMT, so it's full DMT, and it's like the most incredible experience you can have. You know, it's like ayahuasca on crack. So it's very intense, not fun all the time. You know, it's not recreational at all, but it's like really art opening, mind opening. And to me, I knew I never did psychedelic drug before. I didn't do LSD and all that stuff. I was always afraid to do that. And one day I have this voice inside of me that told me I have to go there. I didn't know why and how, but I had this little voice. Okay, that's a way to break through stuff and to break this wall. Or I had at that time I had the feeling that I was boxed. I was inside of a box, inside of a box, and I knew that that's this therapy, because it's a therapy. And I've done a bunch of things. I've done like work with therapists. I've tried to do hypnotherapies and stuff. Didn't do anything, but I knew I have to do something. I want to stronger but different and more for me. So I did that. I did this first ayahuasca experience, which was amazing, incredible, and really opening a lot of stuff. And then I did a few of them until the moment I was like, it was too much. I felt like, I didn't have any answers. I felt like I was in a sort of a loop. And the medicine was just telling me, okay, take a pause, process what you've learned, and then get back to me. That's what I did for a few months. And then it was really like an amazing route, an amazing progression that really helped me a lot, because you go through very hard time, very hard, and sometimes you're inside of the state, and what the fuck am I doing here? It's the last time, never again. And then, but you learn the hard way, but you learn. And that's really, I mean, it's not magic. I mean, there's nothing magical in that. It's just, it's a way, it's a medicine, it's a tool. I won't recommend that for anyone. It's not something that you can recommend and say, okay, do that, you will enjoy it, will be amazing and stuff. You need to have this calling. You need to feel that it's good for you. And you have to be sure that, something is still you, okay, you have to do that. Otherwise, it's not recreational. It's not something you test like a pot or whatever, fun stuff.
But you have to do it with the right people who know how to do it, because I know someone who almost died. And so just yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah. You need to know the right people. You don't want to do that in a loft somewhere in downtown Los Angeles or whatever. No. It's very, very, very. And I was lucky enough to find a person who is amazing, and big heart and everything. No, it's not something I would recommend whatsoever. You need to find a path to do it, or it have to find you. I mean, it's more the medicine is finding you than you find the medicine. I think it works more this way. Definitely. Yeah.
but do you think also being in Hollywood in such a superficial and judgy kind of environment also really was a part of you going so low for so long? I mean,
Oh yes, for sure. Oh, yeah, for sure. Hollywood doesn't help. Hollywood is like a world of solitude. It's the worst thing ever for that. Yeah, for sure. Hopefully, I have a few friends I can really talk to and relate with, and that not necessarily in Hollywood there, and with Skype and all that stuff now, it's easier to get connected with people. But Hollywood is, yeah, it's a worse place on that level. Yeah, in terms of feelings and sharing stuff with people, it's the worst place ever, definitely.
Did you ever think of giving it all up and going back to Paris and then doing something else, or did you just stuck through it and or were you open to new opportunities, or you just had to overcome or prove to yourself that you have to stay there and keep continuing?
No, I mean, I'm here because I like it. I live in the hills. I have a house in the hills, and it's a beautiful place. I'm in Laurel Canyon. So really close to. I'm 10 minutes from Sunset or the Valley. So, and I'm in the middle of nowhere, kind of. So, and the weather usually is beautiful, and I like this thing. I don't go out that much. I'm not a very, very social person whatsoever. So I live in LA like I would live anywhere on the planet now.
No, but do you ever think of giving up your profession or starting do something completely different, or
That's what I'm doing. I'm rethinking my career, and now I live in LA because I like it. But you know, I'm not in this Hollywood like movie industry anymore, and now I'm really moving into something more like a spirit, no, not spiritual, it's a pretentious, but you know, what I'm doing now is virtual reality, and I'm developing virtual reality experiences to help people meditate and to help people for the well-being. So and so that's a very a long road, but you know that's what I'm doing right now.
Tell us about it. How does virtual reality play into, you know, the meditation part and whatnot? So
The
then we
thing
understand.
is, you know, to meditate, it's I won't say it's hard, but it's a real commitment, and it's really something that you have to practice, to learn, and everything. And so another thing to understand, that virtual reality is not something easy for on a B2C market. You know, a lot of people that don't have a VR headset and stuff. So the best way to start something, a business in VR, is in B2B. And so, and the thing is to do this experiences for companies. So for the companies can give to their employees, you know, like for the well-being at the workplace, these experiences like for 15 minutes. So that's the plan. And we have really good responses from companies who are really wanting to try, at least to try the thing. And so the meditation, it takes a lot of, you know, of involvement to get to meditate. And you have a lot of things that you have to visualize or stuff like that. And I figure that a lot of people have, you know, trouble to visualize. And to me, the whole thing is to invert the thing and to bring people into like spaces that can be forest, can be underwater, can be space or whatever, and walk them through worlds they know but they don't know, and work and they like to be but they can't go there. And the whole thing of the process is to help them with breathing, with, you know, using very known technique. Of course, I won't reinvent the wheel. So it's using known techniques like, you know, breathing, body scan, whatever, you know, a lot of techniques that can help people to relax and to be in the moment, to live like for 15 minutes in a special environment where they can have some interaction, to interact with the environment. There's a silly or fun interaction, but they can really enjoy the moment and be guided with a voice that will tell them how to breathe, how to move, and, you know, all this kind of thing in a very condensed, like 15 minutes work to help people just to relax. So that's the plan for the first thing. And the next level is to be able to work with biofeedback. So the experience can be modified with the how the person reacts to the thing. So you know, analyzing brain waves, heart rate or whatever, to really influence. So the user will influence the experience that will influence the user in return. So to establish a back and forth where, you know, you can really dig into relaxation and well-being. So that's level 2.
Okay, and so what is your involvement? Are you doing the VR part in terms of the effects, or, you know, so, and when are you launching this program?
So I built the whole, so my thing is, you know, I want to use my, you know, my experience doing this meditation, psychedelic experiences and visual effects, to combine the two and to do something, of course, and then to work with psychologists, with, you know, with therapists and all people to feed me, of course, with techniques and stuff like that. But, you know, at first, I'm the first to put the mix together, and then I will have help with professional in the, of course, in the medical world or so.
That's such a cool idea. And where are you in terms of what phase are you at right now?
So now we have the project is set, and we are for months we're trying to raise funds, but because we don't have a prototype, it was really hard. People say, "Oh, okay, it's really cool. Get back to us when we have a prototype." So now we are, you know, trying to raise little funds pretty much with us to get the prototypes of the ground. So that's we're doing now, and hopefully we have the prototype made in September.
Oh, okay. So it's around the corner. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So the collection of your experiences brought you to where you are now, you know? So you had to fail in order to get into the ayahuasca and the meditation and all of that stuff to now be so interested in, you know, in doing what you're going to do, you know, with VR. So that's what it is. You know, you just never know what the future holds, right? And you just have to stick through it.
Exactly.
So congratulations. I have a couple of comments and questions. I think, so to go back to Catwoman, may I ask what happened at Catwoman movie that took you so long to get over it? And what action did you take to get over it? So we know the meditation and, you know, so I'll let you.
Yeah. So what the drama with Catwoman was, you know, I was hired to make this movie based on the movie I did before in France, which was called Vidocq with Gérard Depardieu, which was a sci-fi, you know, action movie. And the movie had a really intense look and was very special. And I was hoping that, you know, not hoping. I was, you know, I was guessing I was hired to make Catwoman the same way I did Vidocq, you know, with my style and my vision stuff. And then it was the opposite. At the beginning, the studio said, okay, of course, do what you want. And further down the road, I mean, they modified the script and everything went like horrible. They fired my production designer, the guy who does the set and everything. And at the end, you know, I was alone with the studio forcing me to do stuff I didn't want to do. And so bottom line is a movie. Of course, I shot the movie. I mean, it's my movie, but I have this feeling like in Rosemary's Baby, I've been raped by the devil and I gave birth to a monster, which is mine, but not mine. So I can't say it's not my baby, but it's, you know, I've been fucking raped. And that's really what happened in Hollywood. I mean, especially when you're young, or not that young, but you're a young, you know, foreign director, that's, you know, people are really nice with you. They give you drinks. And you know, they bring you in a cave with friends, and suddenly you pass out and you have 10 people that fucking rape you in that cave. And so that's pretty much, I mean, it's hard, but you know, that's the way it is. So it takes a while to recover from that.
Well, yeah, sounds very dramatic. Yes. So then Palina is asking, can I ask you whether it takes a lot of technical understanding, like programs and all the tech things, to work with and create virtual reality?
Yeah, nothing is complicated. You know, the sum can be a little bit overwhelming, but you know, the big difference between VR and movies is VR, you have like a layer of programming. And the beauty of VR is to be able to be interactive and to use, you know, my goal is to be able to use AI, artificial intelligence, all that stuff to make things, you know, happening on their own. So it depends where you want to be in this VR world, but it could be very simple, like a very simple game or whatever experience, or you can go really deeper and have something very complicated. I'm going for the complicated way.
Of course, it wouldn't be fun, right? Otherwise. So anyone else has any other question for Pitof or comments that they'd like to share or ask? And then we move on to Matt, unless you have anything else you want to share, Pitof, or add?
No, I think I talked a lot already.
No, I've never heard you talk so much. So that no one has questions? No? So Sam said Pitof is very inspiring. He wanted to go through some of these experiences, but he had to leave, unfortunately. So
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bless you. And and then at the end, if anyone has other questions, we can move on. So Matt, your turn, my dear.
Hello.
So tell us what you do, and yeah.
Oh, I'm Matt Beard. I'm a photographer and somewhat of a director for a little bit smaller projects in Los Angeles. Known Ariane for about 15 years. Thanks for having me on as well. I appreciate it. This is something new. Not used to really doing this.
Yeah, no one is. So this is the Corona baby, you know, like
Yeah.
nice baby, but Corona baby.
This is your directorial debut here with everybody. It's interesting that Pitof was talking about how he went from a space of fear and failure into a meditative practice and doing different techniques to get there, including psychedelics and meditation, different things to change his mindset. In my experience, I've had a little bit of a different upbringing where I was pretty lucky as a kid. As at about 5 years old, my father and mother split, and my dad went and started practicing Tibetan Buddhist practice and meditation. So since I was about 5, my father he teaches it as well. I've always learned from a child different meditation practices and how to kind of learn that type of focusing technique as a kid. And what we would do is that whole process was sitting there, following your breath and letting all of your fears, your anxieties, your hopes, every thought that you had would go out with the breath. So you were clearing your mind of everything at that point. It was basically the practice was to get to nothing in your mind. So then anything that would come in, you could focus on one thing at a time. So everybody has different ways of meditating and different practices to do. But Pitof, I want to talk to you about this after, because I think that their whole thing, they're looking for a way to kind of bring their whole community back in together. And I think VR would be a good way that all these people who usually get together and practice all over the world could actually do something. So yeah, that's actually, that's pretty interesting to see. My kid,
you too. I don't know if you remember, but
yeah, we talked a long time ago. It's been a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's funny because my kids have Oculus. I have a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, and my 15-year-old, he's playing it pretty much every day after school, anything he can do, and he comes out of the room dripping in sweat. So he's getting all of his exercise in, even though he's on quarantine. He's playing Beat Saber. I don't know if anybody knows about that. It's amazing. And it's like these lightsabers, and you have to hit these things that are flying at you in different angles and go with the music, and walls come. It's pretty crazy.
It's intense. It's really intense.
Yeah. So I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more technology coming up that allows us to use VR for interacting in a lot of things we do, especially now with all of this going on. I mean, it would be great to be able to be feeling like you're in a room, like all of us with each other, where we could be walking around, interacting, seeing each other. You know, it'll get there eventually, just not there yet, but you know, has to start somewhere. So yeah, it's interesting about fear, because that whole meditation practice, that the Tibetan Buddhist thing is about fear. It has to do with fear being a part of life, and life is filled with different types of fears, and everybody fears something. Everybody's fears are different in different ways. For me, my fear is not so much when it comes to doing large photo shoots or video productions or films. The technical side, I feel, is something that has always come a little naturally, so it hasn't really scared me that much to put myself out and try these different things, because I always feel like there's a solution somewhere for it. For me, my fears, the biggest fear I always had was relationship-wise with other people. I was always afraid that something I would do would upset them, or I'm going to do something wrong that's going to hurt somebody else's feelings or make them feel angry or not trust me or something. And it really backfires on you when you have that fear, because a lot of the times you hold things in, not wanting to hurt somebody, and then they end up not trusting you because you're not being forthcoming about how you really feel inside. And I think that can apply towards every situation. But yeah, for me, it's always been interpersonal with people, especially in relationships. That's always been a hard part. So that's something I'm constantly failing and relearning all the time. Yeah, it's people have a lot of acronyms for fear. I think a really popular one is false evidence appearing real. or false emotions appearing real. And I was thinking of that today too, is my one that I like to think of is fail, educate, and retry. So you fail, you learn from it, and you try again. Fail, learn, try again. And perspective is everything. Like Pitof was saying, you got to get your mindset right. And for me, at least the way that I've been trying to think of this is we all end life the same way. We're gone, pretty much. So I think of it as going on a vacation. When you plan for a vacation, you know that the vacation is going to end at some point and you have to get back to your reality, whatever that is. But during that vacation, you plan all of these things that you want to do, and you plan kind of the way that you want to feel, and you go through that entire process until it's done. So why not take that same concept and kind of apply it to life? Think of all these things that you want to do on this vacation here on Earth, and just go for it. Whether you're able to do it or not, at least you tried, and then you get that experience. And if it's something that's really important to you, you can try again and again and again until finally you get it. It's directors and photographers and people who work in this industry know this for sure. You shoot, you cut, you get rid of it, you try again, you shoot, you cut, you get rid of it, and then finally you're good. So it takes a lot of trying over and over again to finally get to the point where you feel comfortable and you want to be. And then sometimes you look at the Rosemary's Baby that has come out after, and you're like, oh my God, I wish I would have done that different. And then you try again and redo it again at some point. But you know, life is a process. So
I love your analogy with the vacation. I never thought about it that way. I think it's amazing. Yeah, we are here on vacation, right? So like sort of how you told me, I've seen you 3 times this week already. So this is, yay.
This is awesome.
So how you were saying that you use this time actually because the Matt that I know, you hardly ever sleep. So you're always working.
I do now. I get a lot of sleep now.
Exactly. So now you use this time to really replenish yourself, spend time with your family, and catch up on things that you were falling behind on. And so tell me about this process, and and then you start meditating again and visualizing.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the sleep part, because sleep is very important, I think, for everybody. And I was at a point where back in like 2014, 2015, I still had a lot of fear and different things going on. Fear of financial failure, fear of all these different things. We were going through a lot of rough times with family members that were sick or passing away, and jobs were not always there, and things were getting very expensive, and we were still recovering from the crash of 2008, and different clients falling off at that time, and had a lot of fear about money at that point. How am I going to survive? How am I going to take care of my family? All these different things. And the fear led me into a downward spiral where I was basically always at just above the bottom, like just about to fail, afraid to fail, and trying to keep myself afloat and not allowing myself to go all the way down so I could work back up again. And at one point I was in New York, working with Julie and Gray, doing these Redken photo shoots, and they call them Redken Palooza. It's the craziest 15 to like 18-hour days straight. You're working, and they have multiple film sets going on, multiple photo shoots, and you really don't have time for anything. We get there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then we'll work straight through until probably 8 o'clock at night. And then everybody goes to the bar that's in the studio and just gets totally blitzed and until about midnight. And then you get back up again at 5, shower quickly, get back to the studio again, start again at 6, and it's straight through. So while I was in New York, I got a call from my some very, very old clients of mine I've had for like 20 years. They're plastic surgeons. And it was one of my first clients I ever did photo shoots for, and we became friends and kept in touch. And they had this opportunity for me. They said, hey, we're doing this hair transplant special thing where we will do it for you for free if you want hair. I used to have lots of hair, but marriage, kids, everything, it goes away pretty quickly. So they offered me to do free hair transplant. I could, as long as I could film it and I could be on video and all these things. And I was thinking about it, I'm like, okay, you know what? It would be normally like tens of thousands of dollars to do. And I was in New York at the time doing that whole 6 a.m. to midnight thing. So I get up and I'm standing in the bathroom, looking in the mirror, getting ready for work. And I'm thinking, man, if I had hair, it would take me an extra 5 minutes to comb my hair. And that would be 5 minutes less sleep that I would get. And I really need to sleep more than I do the hair. So I called them back. I said, I'm sorry. And I explained the whole situation. They thought it was funny, but they totally understood because they've been through that same situation while they were getting their careers started and their business. So, you know, it's much easier. I'm just glad my dad was, you know, part of the whole Buddhist thing. So this kind of, it fits, you know, it's not a big deal.
I have a friend of mine, he's also had to go bald. He said, you know, God didn't give me hair, but he sure gave me a nice scalp. So I can go bald.
Yeah. I like to think it's a choice. I used to shave my head when I was a kid, and now I can't grow it back, so whatever. My kids have lots of hair, though, so they're lucky.
So how do you deal with the unknown, right? Because right now we don't know what's going to happen in terms of jobs. And I know your main, one of your main clients, Cirque du Soleil, just told me they're not doing so well, obviously, because the events.
Yeah, they laid off 95% of their employees. We were doing a lot of work. Actually, I was about to leave for a shoot for them, and they canceled us 10 hours before. We were supposed to fly to Florida. They've teamed up with Disney, and they're doing a brand new show at Disney World called Drawn to Life. And it's incorporating Cirque du Soleil and Disney animation and Disney characters. So if you're a Disney fan or a Cirque fan, this is going to be pretty amazing when it does come back. So we had our bags packed, we had all the equipment ready, all the clothes in my bags, ready to go, about to catch the flight. My assistant was coming over, and basically we got the call a couple hours before saying, you know, we're going to have to postpone this, which we kind of expected. We knew. We were dressed we had all of our like medical supplies that we were going to be wearing just to fly out and shoot this. But, yeah, we understood. But it was a kind of a weird situation because after we weren't able to go, I didn't really feel like unpacking anything. I was kind of just frozen at that point. I left all of my camera bags still packed. All my clothes were still packed for about a week after, just kind of grappling with it. It was almost like when somebody suddenly, either you lose something or you break up or somebody passes away or something that hits really quick that you're not expecting, and you're just kind of sitting with it for a while, and you kind of don't know really what to do at that point or what to expect. You're just kind of waiting for a sign or waiting for something to kind of wake you back up to reality and kind of get moving again. So, you know, sometimes we can sit in our fear or fear of the unknown until we have some inspiration that kind of gets us going. You're going to hear a little bit of noise because we have things going on in the house. Sorry about that. But yeah, finding techniques to actually get that process happening again, where you can break free from whatever fear situation you're in, to start inspiring you to figure new things out or to take your mind in a different direction. I think that's where the meditation of clearing everything helps at first, because you kind of start with a blank slate again, and the most important things or the most time sensitive things seem to come back in first.
Mm-hmm. So that's what you've been doing, meditation and just being in the moment, right? Or do you project into the future and then freak out? You know?
No, I kind of have a belief that things are going to happen the way they're supposed to. It's almost like, to me, the whole cycle of the universe is just this constantly moving puzzle. And we just happen to be in a certain spot at a certain time, and we get caught up in whatever's happening. It's almost like riding a wave. You know, when you're surfing, you can't go against the wave and expect to catch the wave. You got to go with the wave. You have to find the flow. You find the flow of energy, whether the energy is the water of a wave for a surfer, or the gravity pulling you downhill when you're snowboarding or skiing or anything. You know, you have to kind of go with the flow and be aware of your surroundings, so that way you don't crash into a tree or a rock or anything like that. You just got to kind of ride the wave and keep your eyes open at the same time, and it'll take you where you need to be. It'll take you somewhere better than you even expected to begin with. I mean, I all the fears of where I thought I was going and thought I was going to be, and all these hopes and dreams that I had for certain things, once you kind of see the path that you're going on, you can choose the best direction on that path. You just have to be open to it and aware of where you're going.
Yeah. And the one good thing about this whole situation is we're all in it together. So really we may be physically disconnected, but I think this is a time to be really socially connected again, and not via Instagram or social media. And these are the things that we do that connect us, right? So I think what doesn't kill us will make us stronger. And I truly believe that there's going to be a shift, and it's all about how we choose to perceive the situation. The situation is what it is, right? So it's all about how we choose to look at it and how we choose to live through it. So either we can just go and get depressed and scared, or we can just look at it as for what it is and look at opportunities to maybe grow ourselves or grow our relationships with our family. And the situation will still be what it is, it's just our impression of it and how we deal with it that will, change how we go through it as well.
Yeah. And it's also, there's, I think, a greater fear when you're alone, and not feeling alone and not being alone, and knowing that, you guys are all here, we're here, everybody's here. It's a lot more comforting to know that you're not alone in a situation. I think that's why in like a prison situation, when they put somebody in solitary confinement, that's kind of the worst thing they can do to somebody. It's not physical torture in any sense, other than it's more mental. And mental is the biggest thing, because it's all about perspective. You can drive yourself crazy, even though you have the best physical life outside, the nicest house, the coolest friends, the best car, your private jet, whatever, and still be driving yourself crazy and unhappy and suicidal thoughts and all these things. It's all a matter of perspective.
Absolutely. So we have some questions here. So hold on, let me see. Hopefully I won't miss. So hold on. One was about the VR thing. Karen, say, I fear that VR will lead humanity more and more towards isolation and lose the chance to build the skill of interpersonal interaction. Am I being naive about that? So both of you, I think your guess, I don't know, Pitof or Matt, whoever. Yeah.
I think if I can say something, I think it can go either way. At this moment, when we're being forced to self-isolate, I think it can actually expand and connect a little bit more. But I think when we have the opportunity to go back out and meet each other again in person and actually spend time together, then yes, I think it's almost like the people who constantly will be, myself too, on the cell phone, looking at things and not interacting with the world around us, that, that can happen as well. So I think it needs to be a balance of both. But yeah, I think it can go either way, depending on the situation.
Yeah. No, and Pitof, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a tool. I mean, it's just a tool. And it's a scary tool because it's a headset that isolates you. But, the cell phone has already done that job. I mean, you are already in a virtual reality world using a cell phone. We spend how many hours on the cell phones checking Instagram, whatever the fuck, Facebook and stuff. And we are already in this VR world. The thing, it doesn't look VR, but it is really VR. So it's the same. It's all about how you use a tool and how you consider the tool and how you're able to step out and to be able to disconnect the phone and to be by yourself. And during the confinement, one day I was so I don't know what word I could say. I was more than bothered, with all the news, with all the world, with everything, that I just unplugged my internet plug for a whole day and had nothing but, me in the nature and books and nothing. And it was really a real vacation. And it was really, I think we should have one day where you pull the plug and you really disconnect the fucking internet and everything to be with yourself, without anything but you, and living the moment.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you. Yeah, it's true. Matt, we have a question for you. Which equipment for photography and videography would you recommend for a content creator on a budget? And which website would you recommend to learn how to edit and cut videos? So maybe that, because it has nothing to do really with fear and the topic, maybe that you can tell me, if you have a quick answer, then do it. If not, you can just let me know after and I'll just forward it to Crystal, okay?
Oh yeah, can you ask me that question one more time? I don't see it on the chat.
Which equipment for photography and videography would you recommend for a content creator on a budget in the luxury segment? And which website would you recommend to learn how to edit and cut videos in a high quality way? If it's an easy answer, tell me. If not, you can let me know and I'll just email it to you, Crystal, okay?
On a budget, if you want to do content, something I found recently that has been working amazing, we've been using it actually for higher end stuff. We did some work for Disney with it. We just shot some video footage for that band Berlin, that they're still around. Yes, they're alive and they're still performing and they're awesome. Is an iPhone 11. It's crazy. The quality of video for lower end and even like medium sized productions, and the stabilization and everything, it is amazing. It's really good. And you can use it for a lot of other things as well. It's very easy to share footage back and forth between Apple devices. Normally I'd be recommending different types of cameras, but on a budget, this thing is amazing. You can carry it with you everywhere. It's very discreet if you want to do it in discrete situations, and it's inexpensive. So you don't even need to have service on it. I actually use Android. Sorry, I made the switch from Apple to Android because I like the functionality, but we use the iPhone just for video creation. And it looks really good. I'll be releasing some of the stuff soon, as soon as the band and Disney are allowed to let us do it.
Yeah, you were supposed to send me the link, by the way. Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm going to send it over to you. It's really, really impressive. I was very impressed to see the quality of it once everything was processed and edited and put out. So
thank you. So maybe one or two more questions. What would you recommend to a rational person who can't stop seeking the truth about this happen?
Oh yeah, I saw that. I like to think of myself as a rational person as well, and I also think the same things. You question. It's natural to question things. I think. I can't say that because we're in America and we see what's happened over the last 3.5 years, and a lot of things that don't make sense have actually been happening, and a lot of people don't question it at all, which is kind of scary. But I think it should be human nature to question what is happening, and whether there's a reason for it or not, there's nothing we can really do about what's already happened. You need to really, I think, if it's really something that's, excuse me, concerning you, which it concerns me too, is kind of plan for where we failed at not realizing this coming, because a lot of people saw this coming. If you've seen like the 201 seminars or the pandemic planning meetings that they've been having, or Bill Gates talking for the last 10 years or more about seeing this coming, and we could have planned, we should have done this, should have done that. Now it's happened, and I think people are actually going to start thinking ahead as to, okay, this is what happens when we get into this situation. This is global. Everybody is pretty much in not the best space at this point, and it may get worse from here. But we see the mistakes that were made, and we need to use that thing, fail, educate, and retry. So that way we can be more prepared for what's coming in the future. What I've been doing, because I have had those same thoughts and the same kind of paranoia about like, where did this come from? Is this something that's planned? I actually started just writing a novel, a small one for myself, like kind of short stories about, okay, maybe this is my idea of what's happened. So it started making like a book. It's not, obviously, it's my ideas of what might have happened. It's not necessarily based on fact, but it's based upon my own fears and paranoias of where all of this may have came from. So if anything, maybe it can turn into a movie or something at some point, but I'm putting down how I feel on paper, and that way I can go back to it again at some point and see where my mindset was, and I can learn from that and move forward. So I would suggest writing down everything, because who knows, maybe if you are right, you've discovered something and you have it written down. So I would keep track of it, but don't put it on the internet, because then they can see it.
Exactly. And Ali said, great to channel your fear into creativity. Exactly. That's what it is, right? When you also find yourself in a restricted arena, or where you know, like for instance, you know, like I know in Iran, there are so many laws, there are so many rules. You know, women and men cannot be seen together, you know, and movies cannot show sexuality or love or whatever. People have become so creative in sharing that thought, but in a way that is not obvious, it's just poetic, right? So when you're restricted, actually, restriction actually creates creativity more, right? It enhances creativity, because then you have to really think within those boundaries and do something really cool and unusual that has not been done. And so yes, and you know, like because it's getting an hour, and I know people here have to go make dinner for their families. But you know, one thing, you know, like, and I want you each to say one last word. But for me, it's, you know what, just start enjoying each other, be there for one another, call your friends, you know, just because I have my students, some of them are here right now. I had them all call people or text them and ask them how they are doing, just because. We don't do that enough, you know, and then that enhances isolation that we feel. We feel alone, we feel not seen, we feel not heard or not important enough. So all that I advise you to do, just call each other, text each other, your family, your network, your friends, your coworkers. Say, I'm just thinking about you, you know? What you did, Matt, when I met you 15 years ago, just because, you know, that's where we are now. And I think if more people were to just open up their hearts and not be so afraid of being vulnerable and just love each other, we don't need to all be best friends, but we just have to care for another. I think the fear would feel much less and much less daunting as it is. And then second thing is, do not stop because you're scared of something, because usually the breakthrough happens right behind that wall of fear. You know, once you get through it, that's where, you know, bliss happens and joy, even if you fall, you know, but that's the only way to learn, by doing. Just do it and stop talking about it, stop thinking about it, just do it. So that's, you know, and so these are my closing words, but thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Matt and Pitof. I'm so grateful that you are here. Any closing words from you guys?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, there's one thing I really loved, you know, as not a mantra, but as something to keep in mind. It's something, you know, when you are in an airplane and the flight attendants, you know, do all the safety stuff. And at some point she says, okay, if the oxygen mask goes down, put on yourself first and then help others, and not the opposite. And so if you're with your kid, don't put the mask on your kid and then on yours. You put first your mask, because you have to be able to be in a position where you can help others. And I think that's the confinement is, of course, it's a way to communicate with others, but also if you are alone, which is not the case for everyone, it's a way to be able to get back to yourself and to try to find yourself, the real you, and to be inspired by yourself. And then from that, to explore other things. But I think it's a very important to do this moment where you're not supposed to go out or not supposed to do a lot of stuff, you know, social things, is to get back to you, to live the moments, and then to reconnect with yourself. I think that's what I'm doing. But the thing is, I'm living alone in the house, so that's easy. So if you are in a small apartment with kids, dogs, and cats, it's not easy. But you know, it's a place you have to find whatsoever.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pitof. Matt?
Thank you, Ariane.
And I think I'm going to leave you with an analogy. Excuse me one sec. No corona here, but just a little congestion. A little analogy that I've kind of found is that everybody knows what a satellite dish is and how it can receive waves and energy and transmissions, like for radio or satellite or TV, anything that kind of comes in. And we all know what flowers are, how a flower can open when the sunlight comes in and closes at night. What I found is that if you want to be able to receive the energies that are kind of coming through, the way it's done is opening yourself up to love as opposed to fear. And I see when the sunlight is out and the fear is gone and the love is coming in, the flower will open like a radar and kind of receive, or like a satellite dish, and receive the energy that's coming in. When it's fear, it closes up and it hides. And you can't receive what's going on and everything kind of passes by. But once you can open and receive that energy, you're open to everything. And you start to, it's almost like premonitions of things that are happening. You can kind of see what is happening around you, the whole flow of everything, and the puzzle pieces start to kind of come together. And that's easy. It's just opening your heart, opening yourself to love, sharing love, and practicing love, as opposed to fear.
I couldn't agree more. Even if sometimes love hurts, but it hurts good.
That's in your mind though too. Yeah.
Confined or not, we're still here, and we're still thriving, and we're still going. So open yourself up and reach out to one another, and just keep on smiling, even if, sometimes it's not easy, but it's all going to be okay eventually. We'll all get through it. So thank you. Mwah. And hope to see you soon.
Favorite way to be without fear is in the now. I'm learning how. Fast life, no